Hey, what's up, viewer? And welcome back. This is the NEBULOUS Live Development Creation Series, Day 20, and this is going to be hours 1, 2, and 3. I don't have anything to announce just quite yet, so without further ado, I'm very simply going to get started on working on this project. Alright, so I did an editor restart before I started this, just in case it decided to lag on start, but it looks like it's working. And the last time I was in this video, I was working on a system to, upon selection in, okay, that's really weird that it's, it's almost like if I click outside of the view camera, it doesn't count as a raycast. I think that's actually probably correct, actually. Huh. I'll have to consider that. Okay, so my idea was to set up this lerping between selections if I change selections, but I messed up the lerp, and then I messed up the lerp to that. So I'm going to have to tweak that real quick. And the way I do that is I have to, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to go here and open this up. I didn't have the code editor open yet. And I'm going to go double check why I'm screwing this lerp up, because I was under the impression it was basically the same thing. But for some reason the lerp is instantaneously traversing, which of course is not the correct behavior. And for some reason it's taking me a second here until I get this loaded. So sorry about this, I forgot to preload the code editor. Man, it's really taking its time here. Let's see, if I just select that code, enter selected nebula, and scroll down here since it's faster, iterator to 0. I mean, it's the same thing. So I'm not sure why I'm not sure what I'm messing up here, because maybe I'm not sure. The code has to open up so I can take a look. It usually doesn't. Okay, let me just try reopening the script here. Okay, so we've got this script, and the other script I'm messing with is lerp look. Let's see, iterator plus equals iterator over new selection look at transition time. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is that this is not set to a value, but I'm pretty sure I set it to a value. Oh, I guess I didn't set it. Okay. So my bad, I just dumb on that for some reason. So that wasn't broken, I just didn't enter my value. Okay. So now if we take a look here, if I select this, okay, it still isn't lerping though. Okay, so that's lerping, it's too slow. But that's the idea basically, is that it lerps to the active selection. And from nothing to selection should lerp also, but it's not. And that's weird, that's lerping. It's still way too slow. Oh, I screwed up, duh. Okay. My bad. So camera transition time needs to be 2. New selection look at transition time needs to be 2. Man, even though I split these components up, it's almost like this component could get split up into even further, like even more components or something. So, because it's not very organized in here, I have to admit. So let's see here. If I open this up, now that I fixed that, so now it's a matter of, okay, so that's more accurate. And the idea was that if I'm panning to this, okay, so that was a little weird. So it's cool if I let, if the active selection finishes, the rotation actually is very smooth. Just pretty cool. There's no jitter from rotating. It basically solves this problem of selecting it and then the rotation jittering it. So that's kind of good. The other thing I suppose is like if it's transitioning, that's super weird, but I guess it's accurate. Huh. Okay, so I mean, there's nuance for the player to mess around with in here. The last part then, oh, see, that's interesting. So if I pan it out of focus and then I rotate it, it snaps it back. So like, the way I would deal with that is if I move it over here and then hold right click, it needs to do a like normalized forward vector look at quaternion thing to we look at to this one, which I think I can figure out. So to quote unquote perfect this system, which I hope I wind up believing in here for how much effort I'm putting into it, it provides the player a lot of convenience, I suppose. So a few other things I can do here. Let's take a look at the code. I have to consider the cases. So the first one was that, okay, so the other thing I've got to open up, I'm not sure if I need that or not. I need to gather the player chooses, whoops, I think it's player chooses, or player selects perhaps. Pretty sure selection. Player click selection button, okay. Sorry, I'm brain farted there for a sec. Okay, so in this code I added a few things, which was here. I said if the current active selection, if the raycast it's actually a good point. It's not like the camera has to see everything as you frustum. So the only thing I can imagine is the ray is too far removed from game space is the only idea I've got. So it's a very bizarre bug I might fix later. For now we've got previous active selection position, current active selection data. Okay, so the idea is that if there is no selection, okay, so now I'm looking at a different idea here. So if the darn it. I'm just trying to figure out how to refactor this. Basically, the camera has to point at... The camera is always pointing at a spot. And the camera... Again, this is basically actually why it's not working, because I did the look at like this. So if I consider the lerp function here, essentially what I'm going to have to do is change this to a quaternion lerp, I think. So the problem here is that if it goes from center to new, or from new to center, it's not lerping. It's only lerping from selection to selection, right? So like that's not, so that lerps and that lerps and that lerps. The only thing it's not lerping is from center to, it's even lerping from to the center. So like, what am I screwing up here? Maybe I can do it a lot easier than I'm imagining it. Okay, so let's see here. If current active selection is not equal to null, so if there is a current active selection and there's a raycast, then it's technically working. So this is working. If there is a hit, but there wasn't an active selection, then we're actually, aren't we assuming then that the position is 0? Right? I mean, wouldn't I assume that maybe it was just as simple, I just was brain farting or something. So more or less then, that means that camera data dot previous active selection position is kind of vector 3.0, I think. Because I think down here we're going back, I mean, here we're just, this is exactly what we're doing, we're just doing the opposite of that. And then this could probably just get set up out here because we have to do this either way, so. Alright. guess we have to give this a shot and see if it fixed everything. So if I click this, it lerps properly. If I deselect it, lerps, and then if I... Okay, so that wasn't correct. Okay, so I screwed up something. So now it's just going from vector... Oh, I know what I did wrong. I'm hard-coding this to 0, whether or not there's a selection is not correct. Did I say else here? I can say else. Else, this is what happens. Alright, so I was missing a few things in my logic the last time I worked on this, I suppose. And now this will properly transition between spots. The only thing that's weird is this: if I pan it and then make a new selection, does it? Okay, so that's the last thing I could possibly do, is if I pan it for some reason and then click, it should just go from the current camera position to that, but it's going from, it's lerping from this to this. So that's a little weird. And it only affects panning. Rotation is actually fine, basically. Okay, so let me grab my notepad real quick here, because I'm going to start taking notes on what I complete so I can properly update the video description. Alright, so the only thing missing here is that if I pan, I need to pan from the normalized forward vector to the camera to target normal vector rotation as a quaternion. I'm actually wondering if that would just be like, I wonder if that would just be the way to do every single one of these. You're just going from whatever the current quaternion is, whatever the current forward quaternion, to the target's quaternion, camera to target quaternion, basically. But that would change that might change some other stuff. So I don't know. The most foolproof thing would be to make panning the camera actually rotate. Or if I pan the camera, if panning the camera just looks at its target, whoops, then that kind of weird thing would happen where it says that the camera's way out of position. Whoops, that's a little strange that that happens every once in a blue moon, but so I could just pan to look at, and then that would just actually fix the problem. because panning wouldn't throw off the value at all. But then that would essentially make panning this feature here where it rotates around it. And then my whole rotation feature is practically unnecessary. I don't know, maybe I'm over-engineering this. The only thing that's breaking it is panning. Alright, so I fixed most of it. I know how to fix this. I have to just say I basically have to change the rotator to be a quaternion lerp, not a look at lerp thing. So like this would have to be current lerp rotation, and then we would do quaternion lerp from the lerp values, and then actually just tell the camera, so like transform.rotation equals vector 3 and actually, you know what, I'm just going to just write it in here real quick as a comment, possibly. So the idea would just be to say transform.position equals, and I feel like it might break one other thing, which is that there's one thing I felt like it was going to break, but I forgot what it was, so let's try this anyway. So that'd be rotation. So quaternion lerp, and we're going to of course do iterator divided by camera data. New selection, look at transition time. I think I did this quaternion look rotation is simply the transform dot forward. Oh, but it's world space, so local forward. Local position dot forward, perhaps. Maybe it's just local rotation. That's its exact position, right? But that's also going to change it. But more or less, it would be local rotation to oh wait, hold on, can I? No, it just wants me to have a local forward. How do I? I think local rotation is that. Let me just double check here. So it's transform direction. Looks like that will work. And the problem here is that yeah, okay. The problem here, okay, there's a problem here though, which is that there's a more optimal way to do this. And for that, I would need to use the camera data. So let's finish this here first. So we're going from transform direction forward to like Turnian look rotation, and this is going to be camera data. And this is actually why I'm just going to really quickly. I need to bust open the camera data and add some values. So now that I'm doing it like this, more or less like we would say this and then set these values here is the idea. So let's just pack them together for now. So previous active selection. Oh, and actually, I don't like that name for it, to be honest with you. More accurate, it would be like starting camera rotation, which starting camera rotation to target camera rotation is more accurate. So go in here, we say starting camera rotation, and that's going to equal Turnian. Oh, hold on, can I just say like camera.main.transform forward somehow? It says it's in world space, is the problem. I'm just gonna double check, I'm not sure. So it's Unity 3D C# is transform.forward in the local space. No, that's the world space transform forward. I think transform forward is local forward. And the target rotation is going to be Turnian look rotation of more or less the position of the hit minus the camera position. Oh, and of course, a rotation is not a vector 3, it is in fact a quaternion. So did I screw that up? No, I just have to come up here and say this. And then change. And now they'll compile. And the idea is that basically this code happens like here as well. It's not exactly correct though, because if there's a hit and there's no active selection, then we're assuming this is actually, well, it's still the camera main forward. I mean, that's not going to change. So it's the camera's forward to whatever this is. That's not going to change irregardless of where the position is at. So there was one other place this was happening down here. It's basically the same thing, right? It's vector 3.0 minus camera's position. Okay, so tentatively, let's give this a shot, I guess. So the rotation equals camera data dot starting camera rotation to camera data dot target camera rotation. And we are going to scrap these for now. And we are going to see if this magically... Oh, I better leave that. Let's see if this magically works. Because that's actually pretty straightforward. And it actually is making me very confident in my quaternion capabilities. I can't speak for the underlying optimal effect, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Uh-oh. So I've already messed something up. Accidentally activated? No, it's not activated. It shouldn't have been running it at all to start with. Alright, so if I click this, I should in fact get the lerp. Okay. I click here, I should get the lerp. If I click off it, I should get the lerp. Sweet. And then if I like move over here and then click this, I should get the lerp from here to there. Or wait a minute, it's not exactly going to work, is it? Okay, no, it did work. And if I click off, it goes back. And if I look over here, it just... Okay, so that's correct. Alright, so it's very subtle, but it is technically accurate. Alright. So I'm going to do the unthinkable deletion of code. Academics be wary. I apologize. And I'm also going to come up here and scrap these as well. Or I might have already... Yeah, I'm going to scrap this. Dang, so that's too bad that I was screwing it up after all. But those are the 3 cases, basically. And that's actually pretty convenient. Alright, so I'm going to count that as completed then, because, like, there's just no... Oh, you know what, the only thing I need... There's only one more thing I should probably test, and that is if all of this functionality remains when I zoom in. Uh-oh. Oh, I forgot a case here. Oh no, did I edit it in? I just have to yank this part. So let's see if that compiles and then... Okay, so now I'm going to test it after zooming into a nebula. It also creates a new case where if I like select the nebula and then I zoom in. Oh, okay, good. It actually wasn't letting me lerp anyway. Okay, so if I now select a star like this, it does do that lerp, okay? And if I do the rotation, I don't know why that's happening. I think it just has to do with the fog interference. No, it's not. It's skipping a beat there. Or no, it's not. It's just an optical illusion due to the nebula. But I can feasibly rotate around a star. And I can still pan the... you know what? The only problem is that the camera panning is... The camera panning is doing something incorrectly here. Okay. I basically understand what it's doing wrong though, so... Oh, but this has happened though. Inside of a nebula, my maximum scroll value is only so much. Let's see what happens if I zoom out. Okay, so if I zoom out, it kind of resets it. That's kind of cool. I can zoom in. I can still pan. And if I do the rotation, it's... Oh, because there's no active selection. Okay. Okay, that's pretty cool. Look to this new selection. Dang, I've got to fix that rotation issue, but... Yeah, so if I select the star... Oh, that didn't count as a selection, basically. Okay, so it needs some work inside of the nebula, that's for sure. What about once I... Oops. Okay, so it's not perfect, that's for sure. It needs a thing or two. But if I like select the star here, and then pan, the panner, I've got to fix the panner to pan the camera by local space, not by world space. But even that's not correct. Because going like this two-dimensionally needs to, dang. So I'm not sure if this is going to translate well to the system or not. Alright, so if I select the star, and I zoom in, on this tier, man, it's like, it's just not, hold on. Current active selection is not the star for some reason. Okay, so I'm accidentally clearing current active selection. I can reselect it, and then if I do that, I can rotate, and that works. Whoops, except for I lost everything. If I select a new star like this, it looks at the star. So that's like correct. The only issue is panning, really. Ah. Then there's another issue. Okay, that's not letting me deselect the star. Okay, so that creates some tier-specific issues. Dang. So the rotation works pretty good. Panning is not working well. Which I thought it was working fine up here. Like, I guess it is just it's the fact that it's in world space. That's really strange because, like, yeah, it's too bad. Dang it. So, like, the math required here would be, like, local left and right would still work for a panner, but like, it's got to move on a plane. Like, it's got to move. Man. It's like I can pan left and right, no problem. You know, I'm kind of under the impression I don't even need to use panning. With how good this stuff works. So this is kind of a problem because this is why I need panning. Dango. You have to excuse me, I've got to kind of think about this here. Alright, so I mean, in the long run, I'm not planning on having just a top-down nebula view anyway. The idea is to have more volumetric nebula. And if the goal is to have more volumetric nebula, then a purely planar panner isn't exactly helpful, because I can just select other selections, focus them, zoom them, transition to them. and rotate around them. The main thing with the panning functionality, well, part of the problem is also the fact that the nebula are not scaled correctly to star. Stars are actually much smaller than the nebula, I'm pretty sure. They need to be even smaller, so like within the nebula, the player at the same time though, I just feel like it's hard to deny that the panning. Oh, hold on, can I just rotate this? I would have to be able to raise my maximum rotation angle. So let me do that really quick here in camera data. Vertical rotation buffer. We bumped it all the way up to 45, which was the max I said. Which is like a 50-degree or 50% angle basically. If I select the star, and I still don't understand why this is happening. For some reason the raycaster is not always working. This kind of works being able to rotate it like this. I want to make this like 75. I mean, in the back of my mind, I kind of know what has to happen. I have to have a planar translation for the panner. So it can go left and right, no problem panning, but the problem is that forwards and backwards panning can't exist in that effect. See, that's weird. So that time I have no clue why that bug is happening, to be honest. So I can rotate much higher degree now. If I zoom out, I effectively have a panner, but it's only if the angle is correct. So if I go like this and I try to go to the quote-unquote right, it goes to the left. Or it goes up. So if I pan to the quote-unquote right with my mouse, it goes up, which is not correct. It needs to go to the right. So it needs to go local right, but if I go up, it needs to go up, not to the left. But if I just say local forward or up, it will go not in the direction it's supposed to. Oh man, the math. Blah. The math of this, like. It has to be like okay, so I know I can fix the left and right with local left and right. So the x-axis can still do its local space transform, but the up and down has to Like, it can't just use world space, right? I mean, more or less what I have to do is say that forward, whatever forward is, it is some degree beyond 0. So another janky way I could do it is, I could in fact just use forward, but negate the y value, and it would in fact move the camera quote-unquote forward. But the problem is that it's going to be way slower if the angle is higher. So I would have to like multiply it by like I'd have to multiply it by a scaling value, basically. That is exponential in nature based off of the angle. That way it's the idea is that it would be it would move equivalently to I would like the speeds to be matched from forward, backwards, left, and right, basically. Actually, I just had a weird idea. If I like parent the camera to a separate game object, that game object would never rotate, or that game object would only rotate its x, or it would only rotate its y value, which means that it would retain forward, backward, left, and right local space, and any panning could actually just change that. So that would actually work. Let me see here. I'm going to give that a shot. So I'm going to make an empty game object, and I'm going to call it Camera Panner. And let's say I nest this on the camera. The idea would be that the camera, in fact, just has this object on it, which looks like it does. Looks like they're in the same spot. And the idea is that this only rotates on the Y, which means that it retains its planar cardinal directions in local space. So let me see here. The janky way to do this would be to drop pan camera onto Camera Panner. That's going to break some things, I think, because pan camera probably is like initializing off of... Okay, no, it's not. This is why I was thinking about parenting the camera. So real quick, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy the whole thing. And I'm going to put camera panner in that exact position. Okay. And then the camera panner needs a 0x rotation. But it needs to match the Y rotation. And if I parent the camera to the camera panner, now the camera's position, so that in fact does jack with the camera's position though. Which I'm not exactly a fan of. Instead, if I have the camera panner parented like this, and I match the panner's Y rotation, then pan camera, this will in fact Alright, excuse me here, I'm trying to consider this. I know I'm on the right track, I've almost got it correct. I just have to figure out how to sequence the data properly. I mean, it's basically the camera's position I wonder if maybe parenting it's not correct. Although I think I can do world space or parent space. Dang it. Okay, so the idea is that any rotation So, okay, if I'm in here, transform is in fact this object's transform. Its x needs to equal 0 every time. And its z needs to equal 0 every time. Which means this needs to equal new vector 3. 0, 0, 0, but 0. Oh, it's not happy here. Oh. Yeah, but I'm not trying to store it as a quaternion. I'm just trying to store it as a... I'm just trying to tweak the x and y values. which means can I set rotation? Okay, I can just use this. The idea is that it's just, oh, I can, and then I can do a vector free. So 0f, but y needs to be equal to like transform dot parent dot transform dot location dot y, basically, and more or less. Down here we would have to say, oh, well, hold on, camera transform. Okay. Equals this new camera position. And since we've locked X and Z to be coplanar, so the only change is the heading on the same plane the camera's on, with the forward direction being stuck to the local of the current pan camera object. The Y position always stays the same. So it is the camera's position, but it's got to be times like transform dot forward, transform dot how did I was just doing this in a different script, wasn't I? So it's just transform that forward. Times the input. Oh, dot. Yeah, and then the axis handles the rest of it. All right. And in this instance, it's just transformed at right. Okay, so I'm messing up something. Let's see. Forward only has a z value anyway, right? I mean, it's forward. I think this is correct. I'll have to take a look, but I think it's in the right direction. Because the forward of the Z could exist in the X and the Z, basically. That's still why I figured I could... Oh, it's because of this. Yeah, I'm still not sure if I'm doing this right or not. Okay, so I definitely feel like I'm messing up something here. Oh, and actually... Alright, so I'm just going to give this a shot because... Alright, so... So ideally, if I start panning, it should pan to exactly to the right. Exactly to the left. Up, down. That seems kind of correct. Uh-oh. No, it's not correct. It's still doing the wrong... It's still working in world space. Okay, so I messed up something. Oh. You might have to go back and refactor that part too. Okay, so it's still incorrect. And there's part of the problem. The camera panner's X and Z are still rotating. And the Y value is incorrect. I'm not trying to do a rotation, I'm trying to just set the value to exactly the same value. Alright, sorry, I'm definitely brain farting on this one too. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? So let's try this again here for Vectornian. Deprecated, deprecated. From 2, no, I don't care about that really. I'm really not trying to do any of this stuff, I'm just trying to I mean, all I'm trying to do is say transform that's not correct either. Local rotation. And it's making me use the Quaternion, man. Ugh. All I want to do is just set the Y value. That's all I want to do is just hard code the Y value. Or more specifically, what I want to do is hard code the X and the Z value to 0. Dang it, all to just make the camera pan a little bit. Yeah, all I'm trying to do is match its rotation to the camera's rotation, man. Mang, mang, mang. Gosh, it's grinding me. Grinding my gears. about this? Will this hard code it to 0? I'll have to test that. Like I said, it's local rotation. So now does it set to 0? Okay, so local rotation seems to be more accurate. So hard Euler to transform rotation, or wait, no, transform parent, transform rotation, y. And any other rotations that affect the camera will just turn this thing. And this is going to force it, it's just, it'll transpose the y value but leave the x and the z value to 0. Once that's complete, the idea now is that let's just try it. Okay, so it's still not working, but it's also not getting the correct rotation. Crap. Okay, so what the heck? Alright, so negative 20, and if I rotate, okay, so now panning. Man, it's just so incorrect. Like, it's trying to be correct, but it's not correct. Real quick, I'm going to try a manual. Well, it's not going to work, is it? Dang it. Okay, so what was I doing here? I was saying 30. So if I hard code it to 30, I think part of the problem is that it's parented, to be honest. I think the parental rotation is screwing things up. Yeah, for some reason. It should just be 0, 0, negative 29.39. That should be, all that should be happening is this. And if I pan to like to the left, yeah. Okay, so that's hard coding to 30, but it won't hard code to the camera's rotation value. Like, we have camera transform down. I wonder if I can grab the local rotation with the camera. Nope, it's screwing things up for some reason. Alright, I might be getting into debugger mode here. This doesn't seem that, if I could just set the Y value, man, it would work and stuff. It's something that weird, it always gives that same weird value. It's almost like it's normalizing it. Man, yeah, it's strange. Debug. The only other thing I can imagine is I have to create a thing that just like knows what angle, or actually real quickly, can I set transform local rotation .y manually? Oops. Let me see if I can do this or something. And it's actually getting upset that I am trying to do this. Can't. Ah,
Crap. Crap. Alright, maybe I can do Euler angles. It says it's deprecated. I'm gonna try this anyway, even though it's deprecated, because I'm not quite sure how to exactly. So let's see if we go like. Oh, whoops. Oh, you mean like this one right here that's not working for me? Thanks. Thanks, compiler. Thank you. You really know what you're talking about. Okay, so now it's hard coding it to -20. Alright, so I'm not going to try this for too much longer. I'm just going to scrap the pan for later if this doesn't work. Yeah, I have no clue. I'm just screwing up. Right when I think I'm good at quaternions or whatever, I'm freaking not good at them, so... Okay, so let's try this. Google it here. Unity 3D set child rotation y value. Okay. So that was suggesting to go like... something like this, if I'm not mistaken. So the camera transforms, or Euler angles. And then the rotation is Euler with Alright, so if I pan the camera, a little weird, it said the x to negative 30, but okay, so that's like almost there. But that is so weird. It's just like arbitrarily negative. Plus it was set to 0. Man, what the hell? Yeah, I don't understand why it's... Like, this should be 0. It was like almost there. It was negative, incorrectly negative, but... And it was weirdly setting the x value, not the y value, but... You know... Okay, so like... Let's go back to this. And let me double check here. And this is like exactly what I'm doing. Oh, I forgot this part. Or no, I didn't. No, I mean it's like, I'm basically exactly doing basically exactly what it says here. It's gotta have something to do with parenting. Again, that time it says it's at negative 20. So I rotate it and do it. That's at negative 66. Okay, now it's correct. Almost. It's just not transforming correctly. So that I got the Euler part correct now, but what I do not have correct is the transforming. Guess I'll switch back to release mode, quote unquote. Take a look at the algorithm here, and I think maybe I need to change the camera's local position instead. Okay, give me 1 quick second. I'm gonna run upstairs and grab some crackers. Alright, sorry about that. I was gonna try and make it through this video without eating anything today yet, but I decided to get some nourishment here. It's not like I'm typing too much anyway. So I think the main problem here is that I'm just setting the world position and not the local position of the camera. Or let's see, can I come in here and say local position? I can. So let me just try swapping these to say local position. And perhaps this will just pan it. Alright, it's still not working. Okay, what the heck? For some reason it's not compiling for me. What the heck? Shouldn't really be interfering with this. So now all of a sudden my debugger's busted. Well, that's weird. It says it's building here. It should still be running, it shouldn't be throwing me an issue here. What the heck? So it's telling me that my editor window has some values that are not in fact being utilized. Alright, I commented that, so now you need to stop complaining. What the heck? Yeah. I don't understand why I'm breaking my compiler all of a sudden. Or, I don't understand why it's breaking the debugger all of a sudden. Okay, so that's what you're complaining about. Can I just force it to say null? Yeah, it's a public field. It's not supposed to... Or is it a public field? No, it's not public. It gets assigned elsewhere, dude. Yeah, I've never ever had this interfere with this. This has never interfered with this. I mean, it shouldn't be building for editor flow window. Did I like... What the hell did I do here? I must have screwed up something. Alright, I guess I'm just gonna have to freaking restart this. Man, the last couple hours of work have been like so many bugs with like barely any progress. Yeah, it's super weird. I've never had my debugger bust like this. Wow. Okay. So I have to try closing this. Yeah, I'm just going to try restarting the entire thing. I've had that editor flow window thing for like 2 or 3 years now. I've never done this. And I thought my idea was so good. I thought it was just going to work. It was supposed to work. The ideal number of steps was like 2 steps. You set the Y value and then you transform by local transformation. It's completely breaking. Alright, so I just had another idea where I could fix this. I just had a different idea for that, so let's see if this is going to attach or not. Okay, so I just had to restart it for whatever reason. It's just the nature of Unity sometimes. The serialization can get screwed up. So I think I might have come up with an idea in the meantime, though, where Yeah, but it's not triggering. Oh, I didn't have a breakpoint. Okay, so let's see here. Panning. Alright, whatever. Not really getting anywhere with that. So here's what I'm conceiving here. Okay, so like if previous mouse X is not equal to 0, then like new camera position needs to equal camera transform dot local position dot translate. Excuse me, it won't let me do that. Dot translate man, I am like, I don't know what it is, but I've got the feels big time right now. I know today has been a funky day feeling wise, but my feels are grinding right now. It gets old, man. I'm trying to translate this by basically something like this in its own space. And I'm trying to transform it by holy crap, this is just getting me really fucking pissed off, basically. Hate to break it. Sorry. Sorry that I have emotions, what can I tell you? And this is grinding, this is definitely grinding me big time. So camera transform, translate. I feel like this should just work. Like, this is just exactly what I needed to do. I don't understand why this is jacking up here. Like, Maybe I need to go like this. I figure that's what transform that forward would do, though. I don't know why it's forcing me to. And do the math like this. Let's see if this works, though. Alright, so if I scroll to the right, it's still screwed up. Basically. Maybe I need to go back to saying position.x. Okay, so that's like... Oh, no, I guess not. Yeah, I have no clue, dude. I am screwing up the math. I mean... The rotation got set correctly, but... So if I just yank this out real quick here, and go back to the way it was before. I'm not using the local direction thing. Man, my spirit is really heavy today. I don't know what's up. Okay, so that's like... Somehow I have to translate. All right, so the camera is still acting as if it is only being transformed in world space. And since I'm only transforming its X position, it doesn't matter what value I pass in there, it's just going to go from X to Y, or from X, it's just going to go back and forth between X. So like, the position needs to translate by I wonder if this just isn't possible like this or something. I'm trying to transform two separate orientations into the same direction. So I would use something like we're trying to transfer the camera in its own space and the amount to transform it by is okay, so the problem here is the same thing. I can't do a local transform on the camera because it'll move it forward. Okay, so instead I think what I need to do actually is, now that I've thought about it, I think I just have to take the actual transform like this. I'm rather sure. And this is the actual position that And I think this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing because I'm trying to take the position of the child object and take its local space and move its local space and then set the parent camera to that value. So I might have just been off in that regard. Oops. Oh man. Okay, so we don't want to change this. It's still not working. And it's because this has to be local position. What the heck? It's obvious. Man, I don't know why this is taking so long. I don't know why it is hampering me to such a degree. Like, it'll never cease to amaze me how it's never going to cease to amaze me how much of a pain in the ass doing the right thing is. And you get so little reward for doing the right thing, and the people who do the wrong things get so much fucking reward and shit. So let's see what happens here. So it's like... I guess I'm definitely screwing that up. And I guess the reason for that is because this is the local space of this is 0, 0, 0, 0. So I can't use local space on that. So it is still supposed to be positioned. So it wasn't so obvious as I thought it was so obvious. But then this just goes back to breaking the thing. And that's because its transform... It doesn't matter. It shouldn't... I mean, it shouldn't matter, right? Alright, so if you rotate this... Oh, and I'm actually seeing now that the camera... Oh, no, it is setting it up correctly. So it's just not working correctly. It won't differentiate the local space to the world space. It's making me want to fucking put my head through the monitor. And, you know, maybe if I wasn't destitute, it wouldn't make me feel like that, but it does. I've been working on this stuff for a long time, and, like, I have less than nothing to show for it right now. So when I get this hung up on something as dumb as this, like, it really infuriates me. It's like so close. It should just fucking transform. God damn it. Okay, what if I go like, if I go back to this thing here. And this idea is that this will take the local space and subtract the local space from the world space. Okay, and that is like bizarrely kind of working, and okay, so that's like almost working, kind of. That's really weird. Transform. Transformed. So like this, maybe? Give this a shot. If this doesn't work, is just the fact that I am screwing up my math somehow. The things we go through for you players. And then just for you to do your little strikes on Skyrim Nexus, that you don't deserve to pay us anything for all this fucking effort we put in for you. Thanks a lot. You guys are so nice. Okay, so that's still screwed up. Alright, I'm just gonna have to fucking draw. Because I'm completely screwing this up somehow. So let's see here. We have world space. Excuse me. We have reorientation of the camera rotation in world space. Which means that regardless of what the camera is looking at here, we have an object that retains its planar relationship to the XZ plane. And if that thing's local values are changed, it needs to alter only the XZ values. Which means the camera's position needs to equal the child's local X and Z times the mouse delta times the scalar value. Okay. It's literally that straightforward. Like, this is literally happening because Unity won't let me just set the position. Okay, so another thing I'm considering off the top of my head is to do a translation so like or hold on, so that's new camera position equals new camera position or camera transform dot position, and then we are theoretically like adding vector3 dot right times input dot get axis mouse x times camera data dot current camera pan adjuster. And then more or less we're also saying camera transform dot position. Man, so this is where it's screwed up because of the locality. In this instance, it would just be vector3 dot up times input dot get axis mouse y times camera data current camera pan adjuster. Stuff like this is missing something. Sorry. So float camera y. And we come down here and we have to say new camera position dot y equals camera y. Alright, so and the reason I had it minus was for a reason. So now we're just going to move the okay, but the problem here is this is rolled right. So let's just see how this works for the time being. Alright, so if I try to move the panner, now it's not moving at all. Now it's just decided to straight up not move at all. So what did I do wrong here? I don't know what I'm struggling against here. It's completely going over my head. I don't know. So let's just see what's even running or not. And I guess I might as well step through it to see what exactly is going wrong here. Okay, so is that correct? 268 some odd? Not exactly. It's not letting me select it anyway, but so that doesn't even seem correct. It's backwards, basically. Strange. Okay, so might as well step over. Camera transform position-wise, 18,000 some odd. That's correct. Camera transform. It's times 10,000. Guess let's see if these change or not. Yep, and it changed the Y. It looks like it changed the Y values. Okay, so new camera position at this point is 233660 some odd some odd. Five three zero seven six 53076 2366 003 2366 So neither of them changed at all. Okay, let me restart this. Okay, so at this point we've got two three six six 8438. So that did change the X value. Oh, you know what though? Okay. Man, this is some tough stuff, I tell you what. I'll do like this, basically. And the idea is that Y never changes. Only X changes. So vector 3.right times stuff only changes the X anyway, so the Y value should stay the same. Except for the fact that it's supposed to be okay, so let's try this.
And it's back to being a little weird. But the idea I had was to say transform dot right, and I want to see if this actually I'm going to see what value this actually gives for those two values. Alright, so let's skip this. Skip these two. Let me see here. This is that's fucked up. It shouldn't have a it shouldn't have a negative y value. Or it shouldn't have a y value at all. Is the problem. Oh, you know what? This is also wrong, isn't it? And this is supposed to be transformed at forward, not transformed at up. To the same degree, though, transformed at right is not supposed to have a y value. And this is, of course, supposed to be forward. So let's try this as transform direction. Vector 3 dot right. Make sure I use forward and not actually up. Yes, up is y, that's not right. And just in case it doesn't actually spit out those variables, let's just real quick make a vector 3 test, short test. I'll do the same thing as a transform direction vector 3 dot right, and then we will breakpoint it like this, so I can just test if it's actually properly using the world space defined by this. Oh, and then, oh, it is attached, okay. So, I don't know, like, it's almost acting like it's running off of the parent or something. So that's not going to work either, because we're not locking the y value like we're supposed to be. And it's acting like it's running off of the parent. So I'm going to try something different.
I'm not going to use the parenting because that's screwing things up fairly. I'm going to have to change up this code pretty hard because I set the position to, oops. So this thing's position now equals the camera's position, and then more or less the same thing. We just have to constantly reset it to say that it's the camera. They're in the same position. However, the rotation is not in the same spot. The rotation is only the Y value. Transform. So the transform is equal to the parent. It's as if it's parented. The rotation is I don't have to say local rotation anymore because it's not parented, I don't think. I yank these since I'm not using them at the moment. I should probably still check that out though. So let's test this again. And real quick, I'm just going to give that a shot. So after organizing it differently, let's see if it will properly give the local value it's supposed to. Yeah, see, so transform.right is not well, actually in this instance it's giving 1.0. Yeah, it's really strange because its right is supposed to be X, right? Not Z. So it's almost acting as if the camera is at, and it kind of is. It's not exact, but it's close. So it's setting those properly. Oh, no, it's not. Look at that. The Z value is not exactly the same. What the heck? Yeah, the X and the Z values aren't correct. Okay. Oh, and I know why that will be, because the object will only set on camera panner. So I pan the camera. Yeah, that is super lame. Although it is actually working now. Look at that. Alright, well, I guess it's working. So, that whole problem was because of parenting. At the end of the day. Alright, so just making sure real quick that I'm not forgetting anything here. So basically, in the event of a pan, it just auto adjusts the other object to save the local position, and it doesn't use parenting because that's screwing things up hard. Because I take the parenting out of the equation, and on the first try, it's working. So there you go. And it can't even change its Y value now, if I'm not mistaken. It's not possible because it is locked onto a plane that does not change its Y value. Okay, so if I go like this, alright, so that's correct. And the Y value is not even changing, so it was literally just parenting the object. It was literally just like a built-in Unity thing. Somehow screwing things up. So shucks, man. You see, that's the beauty of using your own engine that you completely build. Problems like that are harder to run into because you have a more fundamental understanding of exactly what is happening. You're not like going off of your best guess, sort of. So a thing that's supposed to help parenting was not helping. All right, well. After that kind of frustrating go of it, I am going to actually cut this video a little short. It's going to be cut short like 18 minutes, but and I guess before I cut it though, I might as well test if the panning is accurate in the other sections. Because let's say I'm panning around here, la-di-da-di-da-da-da-di, and then I click on this, it goes like that, and then if I pan, does it break anything? Nope, it's still panning properly. And if I do the problem is so the last big thing is if I do the rotation from here, it locks it onto the target. That's the only quote-unquote thing that's not correct, quote-unquote. and I can kind of pan while it's doing the rotation. Kind of interesting, but okay. So yeah, like, so I guess the last thing is if I've panned and then I select and then I rotate, or if I can, in fact. So if I select and then pan and then rotate, it would be cool if it lerped to that position before the rotation takes place. So like, let's see here. So the idea would be, as soon as I start rotation on a selected object, I need to lerp from the current camera forward to the selection, and then rotate. Start rotation. So actually, I might be able to squeeze that in here in the 15 minutes I've got left, so let me give that a shot, because I guess I'm just a perfectionist. What can I say? I'm just a perfectionist that can't even get shit right. How perfect is that? Not that anybody's really listening to this anyway. It's kind of me, myself, and I, or whatever. For now. I think once the game gets like more developed, it'll start gaining more fans. The game will, and the clips I can produce for the game will, but I don't think that the series is by any means going to really spike anyone's interest. It's as boring as it is annoying to make this, to be completely honest with you. It is a spiritual grind, it is a emotional toil, it is gratifying but not fun. And the gratifications are few and far between. At least on a game like this. So it is. Alright, so what is this last thing I'm trying to do here? So if the camera is set to rotate, oh, and actually, real quick, use my notepad to take notes on what I fixed here. I can't believe that the whole video is just that. Right? That was like the only thing I did in the whole video. If I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check. I know I fixed some camera lerps. And then I fixed panning orientation, basically. Right? So I have to double check that I think that's basically all I did. But more or less, I think after all this code's done, there will be a ton of transitional code that will operate on any selectable in the game, more or less, is the idea. So once it's sorted out, the camera will do everything but do really fancy transitions and stuff. It just does straight linear transitions, which I could tweak anyway. I could technically tweak those in the... I could tweak them in the lerp, because I could change the... There's a way to change it. I know there is. But I'm not going to worry about that. That would be your super fancy later. Like if your spaceship starts to get shot, it'd be cool if it just jittered the camera a smidgen. That'd be cool. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so where was I? Main camera. Rotate camera. Oh, and is this still... I still want to do this, I guess. Or wait. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Ah, God, I already feel better. I already feel better now that that's fixed. And now that I realize it's not because I'm an idiot, it's because I didn't realize how that was working. So if I'm rotating... Interesting. So if I try to pan... Yeah, see, if I try to pan while I'm rotating, it acts bizarrely. So we're going to turn that back on. Camera panner has pan camera, so I need to say pan camera component. I have to get another game object, which is the camera panner equals game object dot. We're just going to define camera panner. Then pan camera equals camera panner dot get component pan camera. Excuse me. Then here we can just say pan camera dot enabled is false or pan camera dot enabled is true. Whoops. Whoa. Not spelling correctly on that one. Okay. Alright, so that's better. Oh, sorry, spaced. Sorry, I spaced out. My bad. My bad. That's outside of my control. What can I say? What can I say? Alright, so let's see here. If I am trying to zoom... Phew! This code gave me the feels too yesterday, that's for sure. Okay, so let's see. I can get this done in 9 minutes. Surely I can do that. 8 minutes. Alright, let's see here. So the problem, here's the problem. If the player pushes right click when they have an active selection, or it doesn't really matter if they do or not because it'll be defaulted to the center or an active selection position. So in the event the player clicks right click sorry, the brain is not serving me right now. It's like, no thanks, don't want to help you, don't want to think, no thinking for you. Let's think it for anyway. What's preserving your livelihood for anyway, right brain? Right? That's why you don't help? Thanks, brain, thanks. Okay, so what am I doing here? Let's figure this out. In the event I push the right click button, there is an axis value. Original camera position is transform position. Transform.translate. Okay, so somewhere there's a look at that is in need of a reconsideration. If okay, so irrelevant of whichever translation is accomplished, they both do the look at functionality. Yeah, I'm just not sure how I'm going to solve this because, like, I'm trying to preserve a rotation while the player is making a rotation. So, like, okay, so the problem I'm envisioning is the fact that I don't have a lerp in here. And this look at is for the simple fact of preserving the rotation around a focal point. Because more or less it just keeps looking at the focal point after every translation. So the focal point, the problem is the focal point is shifting when the player pans the camera, because panning the camera moves the, the camera. So if the camera moves, there needs to be what happens in the other code, which is that it like takes the quaternion look direction of vector3.forward, local forward, and then it rotates. And actually, let me see that. Did I turn off? The zoom and pan are turned off, but what was the other script the other script was lerp look at. Maybe I need to create a second component called lerp camera upon pan offset or something. But that's like, it's just mixed into both of these. So if I can instead use this lerp look camera component by setting the data it will rotate it from the pan offset to the target. The problem then becomes the fact that if the player decides to rotate during that pan, it's going to throw off the algorithm. Or excuse me, academics, the logic to make it change. I can't say algorithm because I'm not good enough or smart enough to make a real algorithm. What am I thinking? Alright, so I'm almost running up to the timer here.
So there's one case in here where I have to... Oh, and let me see here. So this turns itself off, so all I have to do is accomplish the activation and definition of the points. So it's here. If I push the button, do I even have camera data in the script? Yeah, okay. Okay, so part of the other problem is that it's going to cancel the lerp, basically. So I think I can set up a condition to deal with that part using the camera data, which I'm going to have to reorganize. That component is gigantic. Sorry, spaced out. Spaced out for a second. Okay, so... Dang, I am just spacing hard here. Holy cow. Sorry. Dang it, I spaced out again. That's just how it works, man. That's how it works. Sometimes, like, it just works like that crap. Jeez, it's like resisting me for some reason. Okay, so this is basically the problem here. I'm going to have to conditionalize this. And then... I guess what I'm trying to do here is say... I guess I'm going to have a new condition, I think. Because I have to start the lerp. So I have to add that here. So lerp look at whatchamajigger. LLCANA equals, and this is part of the camera. Okay, and more or less I'm going to have to activate this. So lerp look at thingy enabled true, and then I'm also going to have to set the camera data like starting camera rotation, and then oh whoops, okay, which equals something I've done before, which is just like quaternion look rotation. And for some reason I keep wanting to just say transform.forward, but I guess it's not correct. It's camera.main dot transform dot transform direction vector 3 dot forward. Right, because I think that's how I do it in other spots too. I'm just double checking that there's not another set in here. Okay. So I guess the only other place this happens was the player clicks selection button. And then, how was I doing it here? I'm just double checking. Oh, I can say main transform forward. That is so weird. I was just doing this in the other code and it just wasn't working. That is so annoying. Why was that not working over here? Like, why did I have to go through the transform vector thing? Like, why did I have to do transform direction? Okay, so that makes me wonder. So I'm going to turn this off for a split second. If it'll compile. Okay. I'm going to get picky here, I know, but I'm going to double check something in my panner because I mean, look, it's right here. But over here, I'm just saying transform forward, it counts as a local space. That's exactly what it's suggesting. So let me go over here and, at the risk of screwing this up, say transform.right and transform.forward, which is exactly what I was trying to do at certain points in that code anyway. And let me double check if the panner is still working. Just because I was under the impression that I was right about that, about transform.forward being local space, but then through my debugging I advised that it was not because it was parented, and I guess that was screwing things up, so let's see. Okay, so yeah, exactly. So I even destroyed my own knowledge to some degree on accident. So, oh well. Let's see what we've got here then. So camera main transform forward. Same thing here. We can just say camera main transform forward. We don't have to use transform direction. And what does this give me green for? Oh, yeah, it's unreachable. That's true. Tour. True. Sorry. So the starting rotation is the camera's forward, and the target rotation is and I think I did this Oh, yeah, okay, from the camera to the at current active selection. Or, so current active selection to camera or camera current active selection? It's easy to get those backwards. So we're going from the current active selection data, current active selection, whoops, transform position minus the camera dot name dot transform dot position. And hopefully that's not going to screw things up, and we'll start the lerp. Now, of course, this only has to happen if current active selection data, current active selection is not equal to null. Or, hold on, is that true? Current active selection data. So there's current active selection to rotate around. Okay, so this isn't going to solve the issue of the panner more or less. I can just use a case for this. So if there is a current active selection, whoops, my bad. So if there is a current active selection, then we're doing this. If there is not a current active selection, then we are targeting to the center of the galaxy. Maybe that's why that's screwing up in the nebula view, because the nebula, that's going to take some work, because that forces any deselection within a nebula to center itself looking at the galaxy, when I guess what I really wanted to do is look at the center of the nebula. So that's not entirely correct, but let's see if this works or not. All right, so rotation. So it's already screwing things up because, yep, okay. That was exactly what my worry was going to be for that. Was that it was going to do exactly that, basically. So I guess what I could do is say LLC NAS dot enabled is equivalent to false. then you can enable it. But if it's in the middle of a lerp, do not. It's not going to be good enough, is it? Because the second the lerp's done, it's going to let it screw up again. But they should have matching targets, so I don't know if it's going to screw it up. Let's see. Alright, so panning's fine. Nope, screwing it up. Okay. That is definitely screwing it up. I guess this is going to take a little bit more thinking. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Man, it's so close, so close. Alright, I'm going to cut the video for now. When I come back, I'll have to keep working on that, and then I'll have to do that, and then I'm going to have to solve this other issue of what was the other thing I was going to fix? Oh, that, and then I have to make it so that deselecting like a star, if I deselect the active star selection in a nebula, it would be nice to like revert the camera back to its position of like overlooking the entire nebula or something like that. Something like that, I'm not sure. So, alright, I'm going to cut this video for now. Thank you very much for watching, and take care. I'll see you in the next one.